And so I usually just start her off for a minute or two, letting her move around, kind of see how she's doing, what she's thinking, and then give her a chance to, walk and trot, but also to work on. A little lazy this morning. Come. Give her a chance to work on developing her canter on a larger circle, and just kind of finding her balance within herself. She notices the green lights on the camera stuff there, so she's a little hesitant in that corner. But just giving her a chance to, since she hasn't cantered under saddle, just giving her a chance to develop the canter, figuring out how to organize her body when she goes into it, and then how to find the balance and maintain it before we start asking with the addition of our weight up there for her to deal with. So, I'm not one that lunges a whole lot, but it's just a beneficial way to help them find, good girl, just to help them find that balance and start to find the organization of their body to pick up the canter. Good girl. Yeah, good. Good. So what I do when I go into the canter is I have like a sequence of aids and a verbal cue for the canter, so that when I start asking under saddle, she has an understanding of what it is I'm looking for already, and I don't have to chase her into the canter when I'm on her back. So what I'll do is I'll start to project a little bit more energy to her, start to, ask her for a little bit more, might point, raise the rein and point a little bit, kiss to her, and then whistle, and then tap the ground with the stick if I need to, so that she starts to understand that sequence. And then ultimately the whistle kind of becomes just our canter cue, and then down the road we just get away from the verbal cue as we combine in the physical cue for the aids. Good girl, good. That's it. Good girl. All right, so we'll just get into some canter here. Okay, ready? Good girl. Good. And she's just lunging directly off the rope halter. Good. Yeah, that's good. So the rein isn't attached to the bit at all, it's just directly attached to the halter. Move shoulder. Good girl. Good. And walk on. That's it. And again, just a little bit each direction. Not trying to perfect the canter in a week, just adding a little bit to it each time. And then it just becomes easier. There you go. Good. And if she offers it up, that's fine too. Just let her go. Encourage her to keep going. So if she kind of backs off and breaks there because of that little distraction, then I'm going to remind her to kind of stay in it. Yeah, good. And then if I can get her in the canter or whatever gait or whatever exercise, and give her the sense that it's a little bit her responsibility to maintain it until something changes, then she starts to accept a little more responsibility for herself and for what she's doing. But at the same time, I don't want to put her into that gait and expect her to maintain it for 5 minutes. So if I can just remind her to stay in it. Yep. Good. And then just bring her out of it before she feels the need to quit. And we'll just leave it there. Again, I don't care for endless circles of lunging. It's just a little bit of a gauge sometimes, just to kind of see how they're doing. A little different view from the ground. Good girl. And so I do quite a bit of groundwork and in-hand type work and all of that stuff that I find very beneficial. So we'll just go through a little bit of that too, just a little bit of a review, a little bit of a reminder for her. So what I start with typically with all of them is just along the wall. You probably noticed that I have quite a few verbal cues that I use. Good girl. Good. So we just kind of go over that. In the beginning, obviously, it's just kind of explaining those sounds to them. Good girl. So I'm going to ask her to walk forward. I'll kind of put my whip a little bit where your leg would be, and then ask her to walk off with a kissing sound. And that to me is a little bit the cue to move forward, to get some energy, to move the hind legs either forward, sideways, whatever. A little more activity in the hind legs, but it's directed a little bit more to forward movement and energy. Good girl. And then start to bring in a little bit of a verbal half halt. And I can bring that right to a halt. Yeah. Then I'm going to pick up on the rein and ask her to step back. And I'd like her to get, good. Start to get the idea of stepping backwards from elevating the chest and the shoulders, and kind of taking the body backwards, and then in essence taking the body backwards and bringing the head with it, because it's the last thing that comes with her, and not pulling her backwards from her face. And she gets short in the neck and kind of bunched up. Step the hind leg, good for you, and forward. Good. So the rein back is something that I use quite a bit, but I do find that the rein back is sometimes used in a little bit of a way that is by no means beneficial, where they're kind of just scooting backwards really quick, being pulled by their teeth. There's really not a lot of gymnastic or mental value to that for the horse. Good. So half halt. Rein back. Good. That's it. And then step forward. So in the beginning, it might be, I'll put a little bit of energy to here where your leg would be, and then when they don't fully understand it, I would touch here and then come up to the hip, maybe. You know, every horse is different, so it all depends on how you would do that. Good. And then the last one is the clucking noise, which is directed a little bit more, or not a little bit more, but specifically towards the front end and the shoulders. So I want the shoulders to move over, but pick up on the rein and ask that shoulder to step up and over. Good girl. Kind of direct the rein a little bit more upwards. Super. Towards the shoulder, and then to the hind leg, I'd come a little bit more out and ask the hind leg to step over. Good girl. And then this way. And again, I'm not going to drill everything to where they're sick of it. Good. Or to where it's, you know, perfect. Just trying to get a little bit better, a little bit of progress. Good. That's it. Step that shoulder up. Good for you. Good. And walk on. Then I'll go a little bit in more of a little bit of a riding position, kind of by the girth. Lead her a little bit out with the rein, kind of bring the nose out a little bit, open the throat latch area, ask her to step a little bit more forward. And to just kind of get, again, in the feeling, a little bit in the posture of kind of bringing the shoulders up, the chest open, the neck longer, and kind of elevating in front and stepping through. That's it. Good girl. Let her find the answer here. That's it. Good. So do a little bit off the halter like that. Some days it's, you know, it could be a variation of any of this. Some days it's very little, but just kind of running through sort of the process that we've gone through up to this point. I think it's just to help her kind of understand things a little bit more, help her get a little clearer understanding of what we're asking, and to help her just with a little bit of that confidence in what she's doing, and just feeling a little better about the work that she's doing. Not that she was feeling stressed or anything, but just to help her level up a little bit more. Sometimes she'll like to, when you're taking the bridle off or whatever, she kind of likes to rub her head on you, so just kind of discouraging that a little bit. When you're sort of working in this area, once in a while she'll just want to rub her head and scratch on you, and I would just rather her not do that so much. Good girl. All right, then we'll go for a little ride this way. Good. Girl, that's it. And it's just good work to, you know, whether you could just get on her and ride her, because you certainly could, but it's just a nice way for her to kind of warm up into the work the muscles a little bit, being a young horse, green horse. We don't necessarily always have to spend, you know, get in the arena, get on their back, and go to work for 40 minutes. Yeah, good. Super. We can help them develop a whole lot from down here without the added strain of carrying a rider for too long. And then we can obviously gradually increase that, but we can do a great deal of riding and training and developing from this position. Keep walking. Keep going. There you go. Yep, good. Come. Good. Oh, that's it. And in here, just trying to get her to be a little bit more, we've been working on. Come. Good. That's it. Kind of becoming a little bit more in tune with and aware of and responsive to just our energy that we're bringing in. So asking her to go a little bit more from us kind of dialing the energy up and dialing the energy down. Obviously, being a young green horse, we got to use that as well as the leg or a touch or whatever. But in time, super. In time, we don't have to do as much with the physical parts of it, the leg, the spur, the stick, whatever, we can just really kind of communicate that through the energy that we're using. Good. And so as I'm in the beginning, doing the groundwork and knee and hand work, as I'm walking here, if we're going straight, I'd have my body more directly straight. If I want to turn to the inside, then I'm going to turn my body this way and have her start to get a little bit the idea of kind of following the position of our body around. Turn to the inside, straight, turn to the outside, kind of move the shoulders around, have the body follow our body. Just as an introduction on the ground. And then I want to take that same feeling and ideas into the ridden work. But if we spend some time introducing it on the ground and getting them so that they're starting to follow us a little bit, then again, as we progress in the training, the part where we have to bend them around the leg or get them in front of the leg or get them to do this or make them do that becomes less and less and less, because we can position our body into whatever movement that we're doing and they will mirror that, and then we just go into the movement. Right? And here we're mirroring rest, standing still. So one thing that I'm trying to keep in mind with her, that I sometimes forget, but I'm getting better at, is the mounting part. And then you said you wanted to have kind of that pat on the neck to walk off. So I am getting better at remembering that. Good girl. So as we just walk off here, I just want to feel that she walks off with a little bit of energy, that she's kind of here, and I feel like we're having a little conversation together, because of just the way that she's built and her understanding up until now in the ridden work. She wants to be a little bit down on the shoulders, kind of closed up in front, and then she gets her head and neck sometimes a little too low, where she then starts to block herself. And then it's a little bit like riding your bicycle and holding the front brake on. The front wheel is not turning as freely, and it's kind of making the work a little bit harder for you to get the hind end, the hind wheel coming through. So just encouraging her to kind of elevate the pole right now, telescope the neck out, open the throat latch, and just be a little higher in the pole, just to give her a little bit of room to elevate here, and then that gives her a little bit of room to feel like she can bring the shoulders up, bring the withers up this way, kind of open the chest. And when this starts to come up more, then she creates space for the hind legs to step through better. And if you go back to the bicycle analogy, then it's kind of like letting the front brake off. Everything just goes easier. The work becomes easier, and it flows better. So again, when I want a little bit more energy, I'm going to start with the kiss noise, and then a little bit from I'm going to start actually just the same process, bring a little bit more energy into it, a little bit of swing in my seat, then the kiss, then maybe a little bit from the leg, just a reminder that we still have work to do. As I'm going around here, I'm just going to ask a little bit light with my seat. So I'm not posting trot, but just sitting light in my seat so I can communicate to her back. I'm going to encourage the nose to be out front and the throat latch to be open, and feel like I'm asking the shoulders to come a little bit up off the floor. Not trying to lift her from my leg, but just a little touch from the calf. Each time I feel the front leg kind of leaving the floor, just a reminder to come up a little bit so she can step through from behind, and then she feels like she becomes a little bit more self-propelled. She feels like she has the ability to just keep going forward. It's good. Now I'm going to turn the shoulders, so I'm going to start that turn with my body. Now I'm going to straighten my shoulders, ride to the letter F here, turn my shoulders to the right. If she gets trucking along, that's fine. She still feels like she's in a pretty nice balance. Just going to feel, that's it. If I feel a little bit of bracing on one rein or the other, one shoulder or the other, one side of her rib cage or the other, one hind leg or the other, just kind of running that diagnostic over and over again, so I can just kind of help tuck in those areas if I need to. Again, she's young and green, so I'm not looking for, we're not going to go ride a dressage test tomorrow. It's just reminding her of this body part and this body part, and just tucking them in to work a little bit towards the straightness while we have that nice forward movement going. When everything is quite good, then just riding it. Not nitpicking, not trying to micromanage or fix things all the time. Just set it up to where it's good, and then just go together. And then I'm giving it the opportunity to kind of, that's it. Giving it the opportunity to fall apart, and then putting the pieces back together again. So as we walk around here, I'm going to start working this left shoulder a little bit over around the right hind. So I'm just going to walk straight. And then I'm going to turn a little bit, draw my left rib cage a little bit over to the right, create a little left flexion. My left leg comes a little bit towards the left shoulder. Super. And just moving the left shoulder around. So the more that we can work the shoulders, the front end, around the hind end. Same with this way. Maybe a little touch on the shoulder with the whip. The more we can work the shoulders around the hindquarters, there we go, then she just, through that exercise, just starts to gradually shift the weight back towards the hind end. This way. Super. And we'll just come with a little bit of activity here, see if she, that's good. Work on our half halts. Or go up again. Good. Just encouraging the neck to be a little open. The position of her head really doesn't matter. That'll take care of itself in time. I'm going to sit it in a little wee bit. Exhale. Good. Walk on. That's it. Energy up again. Yeah, good. And a little forward. Good. So the more we can start to, even at this stage, introduce her and ride her with the idea of the weight aids and the, backed up by the verbal cues, the less we have to do with the hand of kind of making her come back or getting her to stop, getting her soft to the bit, getting her to flex. If we can create the bend and the movement through her body from her following our body, then the pieces just kind of fall into place, provided that we're in the right place at the right time. Energy up. That's it. Now we'll just play with a little bit the concept of the half halt, where she doesn't just come from trot to walk, or from trot into walk. Start to give her the idea that she has different ranges within the gait. And ask again. So I got to keep trotting, even though I'll just go into a little smaller trot in my body. Now we'll go a little bit forward again. So if I take myself a little bit forward, not collapsing like this, but coming this way with the lower leg towards the shoulder and asking her to come up and go. So we just want to try to get the steps a little bit longer, but still in balance. Not that she just rockets off across the sand with her shoulders on the floor. Then I'm going to bring her back a little bit again, so I'm going to trot smaller in my own body. And we fell out of it, that's okay. But the feeling that I want to adopt in my own body is we're riding a bigger trot, so I'm trotting bigger in my body. And then when we come back a little bit, I'm trotting smaller in my body. Not smaller and slow to where we're stuck in the sand, but more active and more collected in my own body. My joints close up a little bit. I get a little bit more active to encourage her hind legs to stay active, so that we start to work towards the concept of what collection would be, when the time comes that we start to work a little bit on that. But if we touch into it over and over and over again, we don't really ever get to a time or a day when we're like, okay, we're going to work on collection today. Collection is just something that happens through the development of everything else. I'm going to walk on. So I just create a little bit of swing in my seat and my hips, and a little energy from the kissing sound to move out. And right now it's a fair bit of movement that we have to make. And eventually it will become less and less and less. Good. Bring the shoulder around again. That's it. And forward. Yep. Good. And just kind of playing too. Yep. With her understanding and her ability and her recognition that she can make the walk a little bit bigger without having to break into trot, which is just a normal. Come. I'm going to walk a little bigger. Probably annoy her a little bit, but I just wanted to give her the idea. Yeah, there you go. That she can push a little bit more in the walk and not necessarily have to step it up into the next gear. But that's just a very normal young horse thing. So I'm going to swing a little bit more in the walk here. See if I can just feel a little longer stride. And that's where the shoulders start to get in the way. Yeah, good. And that'll just be in a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever. She'll have that understanding that she can just open up and stretch out in the walk a little bit more. Good. Now work a little bit on rein back, so I'm just going to take a little bit of weight. Good. I have the feeling that I'm kind of raising my toes and getting a little bit of a stretch down the back of my calves on both sides. I'm going to bring a little bit of tension into my abs and kind of feel like I'm pulling her back. So almost like my abs are attached to her withers, and I'm going to flex my abs and tighten, and I'm going to draw her back from the wither. I'm not going to lean back. I'm just, when I tighten here, it's going to lighten my seat bones just very, very slightly. And I feel like I can draw her back from her withers, from her sternum, through my abs and my sternum, and try to encourage the front to elevate and step back instead of shortening the neck and stepping back that way. So let's give her a second here. So I'm going to raise my toes a little bit, get that little bit of a stretch in my calf, bring the hands up here, tighten here, lighten the seat just a little bit, and ask her to step back. Super. And if we kind of continue to build the rein back in that way, then we'll have a rein back that has a lot of benefit to it. So here, just going to work a little bit on the inside hind. And what I like to do is kind of raise my elbow up here, so that kind of creates a little bit of a leading effect with the rein, and then look under my elbow a little bit towards her inside hind and ask her to step over. And lead her out and over and there. So it's a little bit of my interpretation of a one rein stop. If you have a little bit of length in the neck and you're kind of leading them out this way and looking and bringing the hind leg underneath, it's like you're kind of herding or driving the hind end back underneath, as opposed to pulling here in the one rein stop and kind of shortening the neck and creating a bunch of tension here, and sometimes where they spill out over the outside shoulder. And if you practice it that way, you know, lots and lots, if you're on a horse where you think it's always good to have the ability to stop them in a hurry should you need to if you're out somewhere. But if you practice it here where they have the understanding, you can kind of bend them to a stop. And right now it's a big exaggerated movement, but you bend them around, they find a little softness, a little letting down, stopping the feet maybe, or eventually just slowing the feet, but connecting their brain a little bit to the exercise. When you have that ability, then down the road, when they have a better understanding, if you're coming into a situation where they're starting to build tension, you just have to put a little curve in their body through the use of your body, and they connect that same, it has the same effect as right now where it's a really exaggerated movement. So it's good to practice these things when life is really good and you don't need it, so that when you do need it somewhere, the chances of it being successful are good, instead of waiting until you need it to practice it. Good. That's it. Good. And I don't spend, you might touch on the hind quarter movements, a couple times during your ride, but I wouldn't overdo it. The tendency when you do that is to kind of work the hindquarters around the front end so much that you screw the front feet into the floor, and then the front end closes up, they get on the shoulders, they get sticky and hard to move and feel like they're kind of blocked all the time because the front end has been kind of ridden down into the ground. So spend much more time being able to work the shoulders up. Good. So that the hind legs have space to come through. Good. All right, you ready? Yeah, good. So again, I just kind of go with a light seat, just so I can still communicate to their back and have that conversation. I don't want to sit so heavy that she feels like I'm squashing her down. And then just start to play with my body position. Sit a little to the outside here, sit to the right. Just focus on riding forward. Sit to the left, and forward, and straight, and left, and shoulder, and right. Trying to feel like I'm doing as little as possible with the hand, and just kind of dialing her in a little bit more to how and where I'm sitting. I'm going to turn right, keep coming, forward. That's difficult. Good. And I'll just go down the long side here, so I'm just going to come a little forward. Whoops. Forgot to pick up your feet. Good. Ready? And lots of times I find too, when they start to really move through the body, they start to really open up the rib cage, they start to take full, deep breaths. They start stirring up a little bit of, I think of it as a little bit of sediment that's on the bottom of their lungs when they haven't really been, taking full deep breaths for a while. And then they'll oftentimes, because of that, they start to cough a few times. And then I find that typically goes away too once they kind of get rid of that garbage that's sitting in the lung. Just my theory. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems pretty common. Good. See if I can bring her back a little bit. That's it. Yep. Yep. Good. Bring the trot back a little again. There we go. Yep. Yeah. Play with the shoulders a little bit here, and a little stretch. That's it. Good. And so once she gets her body in a position where the front end is coming up and the shoulders are coming up, the withers are coming towards us, the chest is opening up, when this front end is starting to shift, then when the head and the neck goes down, you don't feel like you're falling over the edge of the cliff. Because the body is a little bit more horizontally balanced, this comes up, and then the head and neck goes down. She's able to go into the stretch without feeling like she's falling down on her front end and losing her balance. It's only for moments, of course, because she doesn't have the strength to engage the core and carry that for long. So if we start with her a little bit more up and open and work the front end up, and then we build to the stretch and the telescoping the neck and dropping the head down, when the body is in a better position, then she's able to go into that and still maintain the balance for a certain amount of steps. As the strength develops and the balance gets better, then she'll be able to maintain it longer and longer. Whereas if we just get on and start going and she's a little bit on the forehand and closed up already, and we just ride to get the head down, now we've got her on the forehand, now we have the head and the neck down too far, and she can't really come through from behind because the front end is blocking her. Also, the more that we try to ride her forward to get the hind legs under, because she's on the forehand and unbalanced, she starts to get tense and worried because she's trying to catch up to this balance that keeps eluding her. It keeps moving out there and she can't catch it, so they get a little bit tense, a little worried, a little stressed, and then the body gets tighter, and they're just continually trying to find that balance. So if we start to shift the balance back first, balance with some activity and some softness and some connection and some understanding, then we engage the hind end. Then when we start to add in the longer steps and a little bit more forward, we have that forward balanced feeling and not just fast and unbalanced and trying to catch up to our front end. Simple, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where she's at. We're just kind of on the verge of the more I can play forward and backwards in the trot like that. We'll pop into the canter one day, it'll be a non-event. It just will work a little bit longer on the ground and just let her kind of get comfortable and find her balance there. Start to get a little stronger and a little better balanced in the work under saddle right now. And then when the canter time comes, it'll just be there. And I find that's typically the best way to make the canter or to work the canter without creating problems, is just develop it in all the other gaits until one day it's just the logical, easiest step for them to offer it up. And then it rarely becomes something that you have to try to fix. You can just go into it in a little bit of a relaxed way, and and then just kind of gradually work on improving it, as opposed to getting into the canter as soon as you can just to say that you did, and then you got to go back at some point and try to fix all the little errors that you made in the beginning. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I will talk to you soon, and have a good day.